Hello. This video is to help you with the 2.2 Function, Notation, and Graphs e-learning lesson. If you have your study guide, it's a good idea to have it out and to kind of use this to follow along with the lesson to see what you remember, what you need to ask more questions about, but we'll be going through the lesson and the study guide together. So this is page 1 of the lesson that you're looking at. It's a nice little overview of functions. There's nothing to do in the study guide, but it's nice to kind of read through as an overview of what we're dealing with. So we're going to be dealing with function, notation, and graphs. So they kind of talk about how functions are everywhere. You use them when you're trying to calculate things. And it's just kind of a nice way to look at the function that they give you and what it means. So knowing those parts is very important. Okay, so slide or page 2 deals a lot with definition. So actually I'm going to switch over to the notes page so that you can kind of see the definitions that we're dealing with. Here we go. So this is the study guide page if you have it. If you don't, you can write it on a piece of paper. These are good words to know. Okay. So equations are written as functions using function notation. This is done by setting an expression equal to f of x. F of x is read as f of x or the function of x. Functions can be written using any letter. A lot of times you'll see f of x, but sometimes you'll see g of x or h of x. Each time it's read just like that. Function notation describes the rule. It's like an equation with two variables, but they use the f for function because it is a rule. So it's the rule between x, which is the input, and y, there's supposed to be y there, as the output. Okay, and this works with any set of letters. So if it's f of g, g is the input and y is the output. And here's the big thing, and you'll see Regents questions just like this. For each input that goes into a function, exactly one output comes out. That's really important to know. Once both the input and the output have been determined, they can be written as an ordered pair. Okay, so you might want to think about maybe even starring right here. Ooh, sorry guys. The pen tool is not being cooperative. Okay, for each input that comes into a function, exactly one output comes out. That is really important to remember. Okay. Moving on, I have no idea how that got there. Okay, so moving on, we're going to go back to the lesson. Okay, what there is right here is, see, they created the equation like we were doing, c equals 120 plus 5x, and they showed what that would look like using the function. So that f of x is our y. That's really important. It always can, they're interchangeable. At the bottom, it gives you a very nice description to kind of follow along to see how you find f of negative 2. Okay, if you remember from last year, we would talk about evaluating or substituting, and that's the process. So if you flip through these, they kind of show you the steps of how we go about evaluating a function. Okay, so what you want to think about is, okay, so if we want to know that x is negative 2, what that means is every time we see an x, we're going to put a negative 2 there. Okay, so the original, there was an x here, we substituted it with a negative 2. Okay, and then what happens is we have to go through the steps to simplify it. Okay, so what happened here was They followed the order of operations. They did -2 to the third power and got -8. Now, you don't necessarily have to go through these individual steps. If you go back to the very beginning where you've substituted it in, if you've got the graphing calculator, one of the things that you can do, let me try and get my graphing calculator up and working. Here we go. Is you can substitute. The graphing calculator is a very nice tool where you can put the whole thing in. So you notice how I'm typing it in exactly how I see it. Don't forget this little caret button is what gives you your exponent. Okay, and see how it gets at 20. Now, if I scroll through the lesson and go all the way to the end, it came up with a 20. It just did the order of operations, the PEMDAS, and did each step separately to show you how it's calculated. That is also okay, but it is fine to let your calculator do the order of operations for you. So that's our example. Moving on. Slide 3 gives you a video to watch where, again, it's actually a good video where it substitutes in that -2 into the x and shows you how the substitution works and what answer you can get. What you might want to do is use that with the sheet, follow along, and write down your examples so that you have them. And again, if you don't have your study guide, do it on a piece of paper. The act of writing it down will really help it get in your brain and kind of see where you need to ask us questions if it's still not making any sense to you. Okay, so there's many, and then if you click on this little cake picture, it will pull up some examples for you to try, and then you can type in or select the answer that you think you're supposed to get, and it'll let you know if you're getting them right. Again, and if you're not getting them right, that's where you come see your teacher, and we can help you figure out where the disconnect is so that it makes more sense to you. So that's what slide 3 is for. Again, lots of examples, okay? So you want to kind of click on these examples and watch the videos. You can copy down the examples on a piece of paper. Honestly, the absolute value one, don't worry about it. We're really not going to focus on that in Algebra 1. It's really example 1 and example 2. You want to watch the videos and then write them down either in your study guide packet or on a piece of paper. All right, moving on. Page 5. Page 5 basically brings you through a function notation problem where they take a real life scenario or a word problem where you're trying to follow the steps of function notation. So you can click on these, you can click on the try it, and it will kind of bring you through some problems where you can try. I believe, yeah, then these are if you want to. The big thing is you want to write down the example of Raj's road trip, okay, in the study guide packet because it asks those questions, and you can use these to help you kind of see how to write through this answer. And it even shows you the steps of what you would do. So if the video examples aren't working, this literally will give it word for word. So it gives you read through the function about Raj and the road trip. This rental company charges a flat rate of $14 plus an additional 10 cents per mile. Here is the function you would set up just from this sentence right here. Okay, $14 plus 10 cents per mile. X is your input. And then how much money will Raj spend if he travels 500 miles? It shows you what happens when you substitute in the 500 for X. It goes through the steps. And then it even goes through, sometimes they won't give you the X, they give you the Y. So here we substituted it in right there, and it shows you the steps of how they solve the equation for x. So this is a nice thing to write down so you've got an example. Slide 6, the big thing about this one is that sometimes if they ask you to interpret the values from a function, one of the things that you want to do is you want to first, and this is the part in the study guide, there's a blank. It's that you want to make a table. Okay, to graph a function, you should first make a table. Then you plot the ordered points. This will very nicely do a little demonstration for you if you click through it. See, here's the table, here's the point, here's the table, here's the point. So, and going through that, it gives you a nice little demonstration, and then you can look it up. Okay, page 7. Page 7 is a much more, I actually really like this page. It kind of shows you how to use a graph and answer these function notation questions. The demonstration is very, very nice. Okay, so example 3 and example 4, you kind of want to, if you've got the page in front of you, follow along and then kind of draw what they're going to draw. So they'll show you, this is the first example 3, and they want to know what is f of x if x equals 1, and it's a very nice demonstration using lines where if here is 1, you kind of follow it up to the graph, and then you want to find the y number, which is 2. So when they give you the x number, you follow it up till you get to the graph line, and then follow it over to the y line because they gave you the x number to get to it. And then they give you another example here with absolute value graph. And if you follow along, it's just a really nice demonstration. I highly recommend doing that one. Okay. Page 8 is a time where it's really to practice. It's some sample problems. You can do one, there's 7 of them. You can do 1, you can do 7. You do as much as you need in order to start feeling comfortable. If you're still not getting it, if you're doing this slide will let you know if you need to ask your teacher questions or if you need to show up on a Wednesday. Highly recommend try these on a separate piece of paper if you need to, or get your calculator out and see how you're doing. Again, remember, these are those substitution where you can use your calculator. So if this says 3x plus 2 and you want to find f of 4, that means every time I see an x, I got to replace it with this 4 right here. Okay, so 3, you always want to put the substituted number in parentheses. Okay, you hit enter. I get 14. 14 is a choice. There you go. Let you know if you got it right. So do that with as many as possible until you feel like you got it. So 9 and 10 are all pages where you can go through. This is going to get you ready for the quiz. These are the type of questions you're going to see on the quiz. You want to try this. You can put your answers in your packet or on a separate sheet of paper, and then you click here, check your answer, see if you're getting it right. So there's 5 questions on page 9, and then there's 10 more questions on page 10. So lots and lots of practice here. You want to, so again, here, these are evaluate questions. You pick your answer of what you think you got. Don't forget about the calculator trick I showed you on the other page. That's what you're going to be using here. Submit your answer, keep going through. If you're getting stuck, these are the questions you need to ask us before you get going. The last page is always some nice review. You want to read through it. It'll let you know how you're feeling about what we're doing right now. Okay, so I hope that helped. Any questions, please contact your teacher and we'll be happy to help you more. Good luck on the quiz.